Hello and welcome everyone to the Chugach Federal Solutions and Cyclo webinar. Chugach solves 3 maintenance challenges at Redstone Arsenal with mobile technology. My name is Melody Englund and I am the host for today's webinar. Before introducing our presenters and beginning the webinar, I will cover a couple of formalities. All of the phone lines are on mute to prevent background noise from interfering with the webinar. With that being said, at any point during the webinar, if you wish to communicate with the presenters or myself, the host, please use the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner. We will queue up questions for the Q&A portion of the presentation at the end. The duration of the webinar is expected to be approximately 30 to 45 minutes. After the webinar, we will provide the presentation and link to the recording of today's presentation. Now I would like to introduce our presenters. First speaking is Industry Account Executive from Cyclo, Charles Kalajian, who will cover mobile asset management, including the business benefits of it and trends happening in it now. Accompanying Charles today is Applications and Database Administrator from Chugach Federal Solutions, Tammy Wyman, who will go into detail outlining first who Chugach is and specifically what they do at Redstone Arsenal, as well as what sparked their mobile deployment, what they deployed, and the lessons and benefits they've taken from their Cyclo mobile deployment. We'll end the presentation with Cyclo Solution Business Consultant Brian Nelson, who will give us a live demonstration of Smart Work Manager, the product Chugach uses. Now I will turn over the webinar to Charles.
Thank you, Melody. So if we take a look at the agenda we have put together today, we're going to talk about the mobile asset industry, or the asset management industry, and some of the challenges they're facing and how mobile will address those. Some of the current trends happening in mobility today. We'll talk a little bit about our company, Cyclo. Then I'll turn it over to Tammy Wyman from Chugach Federal to talk about her experience with Cyclo mobility at the Redstone Arsenal. Then I'll come back and briefly touch on a few of the applications as part of the Smart Suite. Then I'll turn it over to Brian Nelson of Cyclo to perform a brief Smart Work Manager product demonstration. There should be ample time at the end for Q&A. So today, organizations that employ a large amount of physical assets have a variety of unique challenges. And they're investing in potentially millions of dollars to address some of these concerns in what's known as enterprise asset management. One of the first unique challenges is the current retiring workforce. So a lot of studies have been accomplished today that show that the average age of the workforce being at 49 years of age with 20 years of experience. So organizations are really challenged with finding and retaining qualified personnel to replace the retiring workforce, and then figuring out how they're going to transfer the knowledge from the experienced workforce to the new workforce. So really turning to process automation and mobile technology to address some of these issues. Additionally, budget restrictions or budget constraints. Today, industry costs are increasing in a variety of industries, and this is due to energy costs, labor shortages, healthcare costs, but budgets haven't increased. So they're really trying to figure out how can we do more with less, and again, turning to process automation and technology. And finally, another key component or key challenge being addressed by organizations today is how do we maintain safety or ensure that we're in regulatory compliance to avoid any potential negative fines that may occur, which potentially could be millions of dollars. So coupled with trying to figure out how to replace the retiring workforce, do more with less, manage around budget constraints, organizations are turning to process automation and mobile technology. Mobile really is the catalyst to unlocking the value that an EAM system can bring to an organization. If we talk about some of the promises made by EAM systems, there's sort of the benefits to be delivered: increased productivity, bringing full visibility to the organization, reducing costs, and of course increasing asset lives. Mobile brings timely, accurate data, which allows an organization to really unlock the true value the EAM system has to offer, and it accomplishes this by enforcing all the business process that we have at the point of performance. So ensuring that we're capturing all the information that we have, collecting the information that we require to collect, ensuring that we have, for example, failure code, failure problem cause, remedy information collected, We'll also do this by utilizing the full value of the EAM system. So providing information where individuals in the field would need it in terms of order information, viewing work order history so they can make informed business decisions on what's been accomplished against a particular asset. And then finally, mobility will provide precise labor reporting. So instead of simply what we used to estimate potentially at 1 hour for a work order, we now, through the accurate capture of labor, can determine that it's really 90 minutes on average to perform this particular task. So that allows us to better balance the workload and better plan the amount of work that's going to be required across the workforce. Current trends today in mobility have changed. In the past, it might have been simply automating a certain individual in an organization, which, for example, might be a field technician who is using a single device, maybe integrated just to one single system and using a single network. We've really seen an evolution today where it's really about automating the entire workforce. This could potentially include warehouse folks, actual supervisors, and potentially even end customers. They may or may not be using a corporate supply device. They may be using their own personal device. They may be using a mix of different networks. So really, organizations based on this evolution are turning to devices that where workflow is very critical. So in terms of selecting an enterprise application to be coupled with these various devices, organizations are looking for trusted partners. Our company, Cyclo, is solely focused on mobile application software. We've been in business for over 15 years. We have currently about 170 employees with 750 clients. We're privately held. So we bring a lot of industry knowledge, but also a great understanding of the business process associated with mobile technology. The success criteria for our organization is really built around being very flexible in terms of integrating to a variety of business systems, using whatever network may be available, being able to support a variety of different devices, but also configuring and tailoring the application implementation and the deployment approach. We have a series of pre-built, pre-integrated products to a variety of business systems, but they're all built on enterprise-grade platform Agentry, which is highly rated by the Gartner Group. And we also have a series of application components that can be chosen from the library to round out the solution. And all this is supported by our variety of vendor relationships we have with leading ERP vendors, our far-reaching, very diverse partner ecosystem of system integrators, product resellers, GSA schedule holders, etc., supported by a professional services team, and then, of course, we have the Cyclo support team, which has been seasoned for over 15 years in supporting solutions. If we take a look at the Cyclo advantage and some of the technology key differentiators, we have a flexible component approach where we can pick and choose the various applications from the pre-integrated solutions, but also we can go to the component library and add components to the piece. For instance, if it's feature-oriented, we may just choose something like attach documents to my project, or we might want to look at something more functionally related like calibrations, which would work in conjunction with your back office calibrations module to take as left, as found type readings. True cross-platform support, we're not just referring to being able to support a variety of different devices. It's having a single core application layer and set of business logic that you can deploy to a variety of devices to ensure that once the system is implemented, you can support a variety of different devices going forward. In terms of performance, being able to work online, offline, and seamlessly switch with no experience change to the user, supporting a variety of different networks and taking advantage of the best performing networks, but also being able to scale up to a lot of different users in terms of potentially 5,000, 10,000 type with no degradation in performance, but also managing a lot of different asset information and data on the actual device itself to allow us to have everything we need in an offline mode. We support that with some of the device management application solutions, which allow you to really control the actual device itself, troubleshoot some known issues, but also start to analyze some of the challenges the users are having with the particular application on that device. From the a configuration approach, using the Agentry editor with the Eclipse plugin, It's very simple to make changes, business rule changes, or just simple screen level changes. This can be accomplished by folks that have even savvy business analysts or people with basic programming skills with a one-week class. In terms of integration to a variety of business systems, including Maximo, we've been integrated to Maximo now for over 10 years with over 400 different implementations. Being a business partner of IBM, we've got early releases of the IBM Maximo product, which ensures we stay lockstep with the solution. But it's also about integrating to other business systems that we may want to present data to the user in the field, but also collect information and push back to a variety of business systems. And we can integrate to these systems with a direct database connection using existing applications APIs, or if there's a tool such as an integration bus. All the applications are required to be very simple and easy to use. We make extensive use of drop-down, default. We use large fonts. But most importantly, the application follows a process-driven wizard update, an intuitive workflow that's designed for the way the user needs to collect information in the field. If we take a look at some of the different clients that Cyclo has deployed mobile technology to, although this just lists some of the federal clients, Cyclo is deployed in a variety of leading industries, including energy, oil and gas, life sciences, state and local government, manufacturing. Some of the federal clients here, such as the Pentagon, as an example, where security was a critical component. We had to go through a very detailed vetting process to pass all the different certifications that the Pentagon had for security. The USDA is an example of working offline, but also using AT&T wireless technology to send and receive information real time. The National Parks, as part of the Department of Interior, is an example of an organization that deployed multiple products as part of the Smart Suite using asset condition verification, or the asset auditor for condition assessments and verification, the work order management product for their workforce, and their supply chain inventory functions for automating the storeroom and stockroom. And NASA is a good example of leveraging the Agentry platform underneath the Smart Suite to take advantage of bringing documents down from their document management system, Documentum, so they can match that up with the work orders that they bring down onto their devices. And now I'll turn the presentation over to Tammy Wayman of Chugach.
Thank you, Charles, and thank you for the opportunity for me to share with the audience Chugach's story of how we have drastically improved accuracy and efficiency in recording maintenance data using Cyclo's Smart Work Manager. Again, my name is Tammy Wayman, and I'm responsible for the database and applications administration for Chugach Federal Solutions, Incorporated. Our parent company is Chugach Alaska Corporation. We call it CAC for short, and CAC was established in 1972 as one of the 13 Alaska Native corporations created by the Alaska Native Claims Settlement Act of 1971. CAC is headquarters in Anchorage, Alaska, and provides contract services to U.S. military installations across the globe. CAC employs more than 6,500 people worldwide and is made up of 13 subsidiaries who provide the following support: base operations and maintenance support, construction services, information technology services, training for the U.S. Department of Labor Job Corps programs, as well as other business entities. The subsidiary that I am employed by, Chugach Federal Solutions, Incorporated, called CFSI for short, supports the base operations and maintenance contract at Redstone Arsenal, located in Huntsville, Alabama. So what does CFSI do at Redstone Arsenal? Well, first, let me tell you a little bit about Redstone Arsenal. It was founded as a chemicals weapon plant in the 1930s. It is also where German scientist Werner von Braun brought rocket implementation here in the 1950s. And today, Redstone Arsenal is a working Army post with emphasis on basic and advanced weaponry management. The top portion of the slide lists some of the many tenants here at Redstone. The middle portion of the slide provides some statistical data regarding Redstone's population. When combining post tenants with Redstone's population, Team Redstone's mission is to perform basic and advanced weapon system research and development, placing the right missile and aviation systems with the troops, keeping them ready to fight, providing weapon systems, services, and supplies to our allies, to manage weapon systems such as the Cobra and Patriot, and to support project managers within the Program Executive Office structure. We, being CFSI, provide maintenance support for all the utilities here at Redstone, such as electricity, steam, gas, water, and HVAC systems. We maintain most of the building infrastructure, and we maintain all of the roads, bridges, signs, and common areas. We provide all ground transportation on post, and we also provide a service order support call center, which is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whereby any Redstone tenant or employee can call and they can report a maintenance problem. So for CFSI, maintaining Redstone Arsenal is literally like managing facilities and utilities maintenance for a small city.
Tammy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready. What I would like to share over the next few minutes are 3 problems that we have identified as areas where we as a contractor can improve in maintenance support. First of all, one of our biggest problems was how we can more quickly respond to a Priority 1 service order call. In a few minutes, I will explain more specifically what a Priority 1 work order is. Secondly, another problem that we have experienced in the past was that although we pride ourselves in having the best in maintenance employee talent, how can we help the technician more thoroughly and accurately perform preventive maintenance work? And lastly, how can we reduce the amount of time and effort it takes to accurately report labor hours in Maximo? CFSI, as I mentioned earlier, has a 24/7 service order desk, or as we call it, the sword desk. So when a person needs to call and report a maintenance problem, they call the sword desk. The caller will actually get a live voice, and the nature of their problem is entered into Maximo's work order application as a SO service order, type work order, and the sword desk personnel assigns the SO a priority code. We have 3 priority codes for service order work orders. Priority 1 has the highest importance because it is used for imminent danger or bodily harm. Therefore, all Priority 1 work orders must be responded to by CFSI within 1 hour of the emergency being reported. We also have Priority 2 service orders, which are non-emergency, break, and fix type work orders. Then we have Priority 3 service orders that have even less importance, and Priority 3s are usually worked into the regular maintenance schedule. On the screen, there are some examples of real service order calls into the sword desk. Almost a year ago, there was an explosion at one of the buildings on post. A number of different post agencies were called to the scene, and the sword desk entered the priority 1 service order because Chugach was one of the first responders. Any emergency related to water, such as leaking, flooding, spilling, freezing, is more than likely going to be assigned a priority 1 work type. Being too hot or too cold in the workplace, if we get a call of that nature, typically also gets assigned a priority 1 code. The sword desk also receives numerous calls when the power goes out anywhere on post. As part of our contract, CFSI monitors all post electricity 24/7, so we know when there's a power outage before the first sword desk phone call comes in. All of the power outage work orders are also assigned priority 1 work codes. So prior to using Cyclo Smart Work Manager, this side represents a typical flow of a priority 1 service call. Somebody calls the sword desk to report a problem. Then the sword desk immediately enters the work order into Maximo and records a description of the problem, including the building number or location, who to contact, and their phone number once the technician arrives. Then the sword desk calls the appropriate shop supervisor and relays the work order number, description of the problem, location, and contact information. Then the supervisor calls the appropriate technician and again relays the work order number, the description of the problem, and the contact information. And the technician has to write all this information down. Depending on the urgency of the priority 1, the supervisor may just simply call the technician and tell him the gist of the problem so the technician can get to the location as soon as possible. And unfortunately, no work order information is relayed at that time. At some point, the supervisor or the shop administrator provides the work order, approves the work order in Maximo, and prints it. Meanwhile, if the technician needs a part and he didn't write down the work order number or the information, he will use another existing work order number to get spare parts. Then at some point when the technician gets the printed work order, he will record his time, if he has not already done so, on another work order. Then he will mark the work order complete and returns it to the supervisor or shop admin to complete in Maximo. So to say the least, there is a lot of time lost with numerous phone calls and writing down the same information multiple times. And as you can see, the flow of the priority 1 work order from creation to completion can go quickly any way but the right way. Then sometimes preventive maintenance work orders will take a back seat to the priority 1 or priority 2 work orders. We have a few technicians who work solely on preventive maintenance work, but most technicians work on a variety of work orders. So it is not unusual that he may be working on a PM work order and get called to respond to a service order work order. And sometimes the technician may use the PM work order number to record the service order work, either out of convenience or because he doesn't have the service order work order number. Well, this causes a twofold problem. When he returns to complete the PM work for the job plan steps, he may have to either start over or he may not start exactly where he left off. Starting over is costly in time. but not picking up where the technician left off can be more costly on down the road in terms of a maintenance problem. So if he doesn't record his time properly for the service order work, then when the service order is audited prior to being closed, it may take a coordinated effort from several departments in CFSI to get the labor and materials reported correctly in Maximo. All maintenance hours for work orders are entered into the labor reporting application of Maximo. Also, all non-work hourly and salary time is also entered into Maximo. This data is then uploaded into corporate tax corporate payroll systems. So, in other words, we all get paid from the labor entries made into Maximo. So everyone has a vested interest in the labor hours being entered into Maximo correctly and on time for payroll purposes. For the technicians, recording time requires a lot of redundant paperwork. He or she must complete a daily timesheet for the shop admin to enter into Maximo. This information will include the date of the work order number, time spent on each work order. Then at the end of the week, the technician must re-record his time on an official timesheet document in which he or she and their supervisor must sign. The shop admin is responsible for ensuring that the daily time entered in Maximo matches the official timekeeping document signed by the employee and supervisor. When a shop has many technicians who work on multiple work orders each week, the auditing and correcting of the official timesheet can consume a great deal of time within itself. So, how do we reduce or eliminate all of this phone calling and all of this handwriting and all of this paperwork? In exploring mobile options to work with Maximo, one of the vendors I considered was Cyclo. I had attended Cyclo's breakout sessions in past Maximo users conferences, and I had had an opportunity to speak with several of Cyclo's clients, including another Redstone Arsenal tenant who also uses Cyclo's mobile product. There were four main reasons for choosing Cyclo. For connectivity, we were already using Verizon Wireless as our cell phone voice carrier. So Verizon Wireless was also able to provide us the data service as well. Our corporate IT department provided the connectivity support from the Verizon wireless tower into the CAC network. For usability, putting a scaled-down work order application into the hands of the technician out in the field would be great. Cyclo's out-of-the-box Smart Work Manager contained most of the features we needed, so very little customization would be done. And then my vendor research revealed that Cyclo's product was very reliable and it did not have a lot of software issues. Their technical support team came highly recommended. So this slide is just a visual display of our current deployment of Cyclo's Smart Work Manager. We have selected technicians who use Smart Work Manager to aid in performing their preventive maintenance and service order work. They also use Work Manager to record their labor hours on their assigned work orders. CFSI has also been tasked with tracking more specific assets in buildings. Using Smart Auditor, we will be able to build a more in-depth hierarchy of a building in Maximo and more accurately track work order information for specific assets. We currently use Samsung's i730 smartphone. The device connects to a Verizon wireless tower, then another software package called NetMotion authenticates the mobile user and device and provides the access into the CAC wide area network. Once the user is inside the CAC WAN, he logs into Smart Work Manager. Once inside Work Manager, one step updates all the work order data on the smartphone. The technician can update the data going to or from the device to Maximo as often as he wants to. So what improvements have we experienced by using Smart Work Manager? The number of steps to perform and respond to a priority one work order has been greatly reduced. Now, when a priority one work order call comes to the store desk and is entered into Maximo, sometimes the store desk will know what technician to assign it to. If the store desk has to call the supervisor for the assignment, the store desk can still make the assignment in Maximo and improve the work order. Next, either the store desk or the supervisor can call or text the technician that the technician needs to update his data in Smart Work Manager to receive the priority one work order information. Now, the technician has all the work order information in his hands, so there's no more excuses for using other work order numbers to receive spare parts and record his or her time. And the biggest advantage of Smart Mobile is that the technician can more quickly respond to priority one work. The other two problems that I mentioned are also resolved with Smart Work Manager. Problem 2 is resolved because with Work Manager, the technician has the steps of the job plan on his device, and he can check those steps off on the device as he goes along in his work. If he gets interrupted to go work on another work order, he can easily go back to where he left off on the PM work. For problem 3, since the technician can enter his own time directly into Smart Work Manager, there is no need for a daily timesheet to be completed. He can also enter other technicians' time that may be working with him on the same work order. Other additional benefits that we've received from using Smart Work Manager is that we have quit printing the PM work orders and any service orders that we know have been assigned to mobile users. The technicians can also complete the work order in Smart Work Manager when the work is actually finished. And the Maximo database is all updated in real time. For CSSI, Smart Work Manager takes out the human factor of error by not having to write and rewrite work order information. This slide represents, or just reiterates, some of the benefits CFSI has received from Cyclo's Smart Mobile products. We have no more clipboards, no more skip job plans, no more printing and distributing work orders, no more lost paperwork because we have less paperwork to keep up with, and because our payroll is driven from Maximo, improved time entry effort means less time is spent correcting labor entry mistakes. By combining cell phones and PDA devices, this eliminates the complaints of the technicians having to carry around too many devices. I want to take just a minute or two to talk about our implementation of Smart Work Manager. Let me first say that change is very painful. Some of our smart mobile users are not very computer savvy. The biggest hurdle new users had to overcome was how to hook to the Verizon wireless cell phone tower, then log into the TAC network, and then log into Smart Work Manager. I try to assure new users that the hardest part of this entire process is getting logged in. Once you get logged into Work Manager, that's the easiest part. Users also had to be trained in what to do when steps in the connectivity process failed. The other hurdle that I had to overcome was that some technicians just love their clipboards, but supervisors have been very supportive of Smart Mobile, and that helps me in helping mobile users get better acclimated with Smart Work Manager. Also, when a new mobile user accesses Work Manager for the first time on the device, we usually have to go through a cleanup process of the work orders in the device. And what I mean by cleanup is that some work orders that are displayed in the work order list have already been worked but have not been completed. So this is an opportunity for me to show the user how to start a work order in Smart Manager and then how to complete the work order and transmit these changes to the Maximo database. Some work orders in the list may have been assigned to the user in error. So I show the user how to transfer that work order to another technician. Once we get their initial work order list in the mobile device up to date, it is easier for the technician to manage their workload. So instead of being driven by all this paperwork, the actions of Smart Work Manager really drives the workload. So what's on the horizon for CFSI and our application of Smart Mobile? I'm currently working with a consultant to install Smart Auditor. After this installation, we will make some customizations based on user input and then train Smart Auditor users. We have also recently absorbed another small contract which will provide an opportunity to add even more Smart Mobile users. So with this concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you again for allowing me the opportunity to share our Cyclo Smart Mobile story. And at this time, I would like to turn the presentation back over to Charles for more information on Cyclo's mobile suite.
Thank you, Tammy. So if we take a look at the Smart Suite of applications that we've built for Maximo, I mentioned previously our partnership with IBM affords us the ability to co-develop applications. Our first integration was in the late 90s to Maximo, and today there's over 400 implementations against all versions of Maximo, including older versions, Maximo 4, 5, and of course today 6, 7. The Smart Work Manager for Maximo application, which Tammy presented, is designed to manage all of your planned and unplanned work order activity for the maintenance techs, crafts engineers. You can record your various time. You can create work orders on the spot, go through planned job steps, calibrations if you're working in conjunction with the back office calibrations module. The second application is part of the Smart Mobile Suite for Maximo. It's a Smart Auditor. This allows you to do condition assessments, you could build an asset location equipment hierarchy, an asset catalog, spare parts list. A third product as part of our Smart Suite is the Smart Schedule application. This is a resource optimization application designed to assist with the assigning resources to particular jobs. So the idea is put the right individual on the right job at the right time, but also being able to dynamically reschedule the activities or the assignments throughout the day as work changes. And then finally, the fourth application is part of the Smart Mobile Suite for Maximo, Smart Inventory Manager. And this manages all your standard supply chain functions within the storeroom, stockroom, or warehouse for doing cycle counts, issuing parts, returns, transfers, and of course PO receiving functions. And now I'm going to turn it over to Brian Nelson of Cyclo, who will go through a brief demonstration of the Smart Work Manager for Maximo application.
Thanks a lot, Charles. Again, my name is Brian Nelson. I'm a solution business consultant here at Cyclo, and we'll go ahead and take a look at the Smart Work Manager application that Tammy had discussed. Go ahead and share. There we go. Just takes a minute to flip over. Great. So what you should all see is an image of a Samsung smartphone. I actually have a Windows mobile device here sitting next to me that I connected to my laptop using the USB connection. There's an old application on that device that shows the image of the screen up on my laptop screen, and we're sharing that via WebEx. And I put across that screen an image of the device that Tammy mentioned that they're using there on the within Redstone Arsenal. So I'm going to go ahead and log into the application. I could use the slide-out keyboard this device supports. Also with Windows Mobile, you can actually use not only the touch keyboard, but the screen keyboard as well. So I'll log in. And that'll let me into the application. And Tammy spent most of the time talking about work order management, which we'll spend our time with in the demonstration. But she also talked about the timesheet, so being able to track not only work time, but other types of time. That's done within the timesheet module. But again, I'll spend my time within the work orders module. She mentioned that a lot of the technicians need a little bit of adjustment time looking at their work order list screen, and that's what we're looking at here. So we can see that I've got 11 of 11 work orders that are displayed here. We can, there's a built-in filter here at the bottom, so I can filter that list, maybe filtered by location or priority, etc. So each one of these lines is a different work order, and we can see I've got them sorted in ascending order that sorts it by priority, but I could sort by any of the columns that I want. With the time that we have available, I'm just going to go through a quick work order, and I've selected this work order 1165, and if you see when I select it, there's a detail pane at the bottom that shows that user some additional information, or I could tap the view button and drill down into that work order. So I've gone from a list screen of all my work orders that's assigned to me as a technician to the detail screen that you might see within the Maximo. So that first detail pane within Maximo here is displayed on my handheld screen. And any of the fields or columns are completely configurable, so you actually determine what fields get displayed to the technicians, what information is most valuable for them to complete their job. So when we brought down this work order, whether it's a PM or a corrective or service order type work, it'll bring down any relevant information from Maximo that they need to complete their job. So I've got some general work order detail information. I've got the job plan information, which we'll look at in a little bit more detail. Any parts that I've used are displayed here. I record meter information, view safety information, work history. So I can see by default we bring down the last 6 months of any corrective or emergency maintenance that has been performed on that either asset or location. But a lot of times it's going to be spent within a job plan, especially with preventative maintenance type tasks. So from this screen, I could view all my step list. I could view any planned materials. So if I tap that hyperlink, it'll actually take me to all the materials that are planned for that job. Let me close that out and go back to the step list, which is the individual steps that are indicative of the work that needs to be performed here. So I've got step 10, 15, 20, 30. You can see step 15 actually has a reading on that. We'll start at the top of the list. I'm going to tap the view button and drill into that work order step. Here's the description. Check the pump operation. We can see if there's any tools, labor, materials required on the step. We see mark as disabled. So I actually can't start my job until I've actually started the work order. So let me go back and start the job. And again, this is for accurate time reporting. So Tammy mentioned that one of the big issues is that there are duplicate time entries, and accurate time reporting in the work orders is very important for them. So if we enforce the time reporting within the work order itself, it helps eliminate a lot of that misinformation on the times. So we'll say we did review the safety plan, and we'll go back. We started that job, which means we started the time clock on that work order. We'll go to this job plan step, mark it as complete. We've checked the pump operation. Everything looks okay. The next step is record the outlet pressure. Let's drill into that. We could take our reading, and if there were upper and lower warning and action limits, they would be displayed here, but we can see the last time we took a reading, the date of the previous reading and the previous reading itself. I can enter in a reading, and again, I could use the keypad or enter it directly on the device. If there were tolerance limits, it would actually enforce those limits and tell me if I've taken a reading that's outside the limits. In this case, there aren't any. And I'll mark that step as complete. Now, you can continue, go through, and mark each step off as complete. But for time purposes, we'll go ahead and just complete the work order. Again, as Tammy mentioned, sometimes a work order has been assigned to the wrong technician, so we can go ahead and transfer that work order. And then they indicate who they're transferring that job to and the reason for transferring that work. And again, fields can be required. So you can see that we need to indicate a reason for putting this work order on, or transferring this work order, I should say. We're going to go back. We won't transfer that job. What we'll do is we'll complete it, and it's going to walk me through a different set of screens. So again, we talked about putting these wizards in place to really help collect that data easily for technicians. So eliminate the paperwork and make it easier for them to do their job. This is a preventative maintenance job, so we don't necessarily have to fill out any failure information, but if we did, we'd fill that out in here. That information comes directly from Maximo, so we're displaying the Maximo failure hierarchy to the user so they don't have to guess that. It drills them through there. If they need to create a follow-up work order, they could check the box and create that follow-up work order against that asset. I'm going to go back, uncheck that box, so we won't create a follow-up work order. And then this screen is the labor time reporting. So from the time I hit start to the time I hit complete, it took me 2 minutes. Obviously, that's probably incorrect. So if we need to edit time, that could be something you allow users to do. So I'm going to say it took me 45 minutes to get through that work order. This is my time, so I logged in as Smith. Again, Tammy mentioned that we might record time for other technicians' time against this work order, and I can do that by clicking the Add button here. We'll close that out. Work order is now complete. I can go ahead and work on the next job. So that was a quick round-trip demo. I'll pass that back to Tammy. Oh, back to Melody, and she'll finish up the presentation for us.
All right, thank you, Brian. Thank you, Charles and Tammy, as well. At this time, we will open the session up for Q&A. We are still accepting questions, so please feel free to utilize the Q&A box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. In the meantime, I will start with the questions we have received. Okay, so the first one I'd like to ask Tammy. Did you see a decrease in inventory shrinkage as you implemented the mobile solutions?
No, not really. Our main objective was to be sure that the right parts got issued to the right work order. And in the case where I was explaining the priority one, for if it's an emergency, we want to get the part there. We want to be able to get the job done. So the biggest advantage that we got out of it is that the right part is recorded to the right work order in real time.
Okay, great. Thank you. This question is for Brian. Brian, does your mobile product support Infor EAM2 in addition to Maximo in the EAM domain?
Yes. So we actually have mobile work management, inventory management solutions that tie into other back-end systems. So Infor is one of those solutions that we can work with, yes.
Okay, and maybe Charles, could you answer this one? Does IBM still resell your product?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. And for Brian, is Windows Mobile the only platform available?
Nope. So the demonstration we looked at was for the Windows Mobile device. We can deploy that also on, and we've got a lot of customers running this on laptops, tablets, type devices. So those are what we call our Win32 clients. We can deploy it on Apple devices such as the iPad and iPhone, BlackBerry devices. We're coming out with Android support. But our main discussion with customers is picking the right device for the use case. So I drilled through a lot of information on the Windows Mobile device, and it might be a little difficult for a BlackBerry user to do that very easily. So again, pick the right device for the right use case. But one of the advantages of the platform is you can actually support this application across all those different devices within a single deployment. You don't have to have different development tools and deployments for all those different profiles, for those different devices.
Okay, great. And we have a great question for you, Tammy, here. If the tech identifies a critical repair, what is the time frame and process for work approval?
If the technician identifies a critical repair, what is the time frame? Again, it falls in the priorities of 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, if he's there, he can go ahead and if he can make the repair, that would be ideal. If not, he would request that another work order be made to repair the problem. The priority ones, we respond to those in an hour. Priority 2, service orders, we have 2 days to respond. And priority 3 is just work that we work in with a regular work week.
Okay, great. Thank you, Tammy. And maybe, Charles, you could answer this question for us. Do you need a Maximo license for those Smart Work Manager user?
Well, the licensing discussion really needs to occur between the clients and depending on the arrangement they have with their IBM Maximo license, the answer could be yes, or it potentially may not be required.
Okay, great. And we have another one here. How much time was saved by going to the mobile system versus paper method from work order open to work order close? For Tammy?
Well, the time difference between the paper method and the mobile method, obviously the paper method, the typical flow is the work order is printed, it goes to the technician's clipboard, then when the work is done, he records his work on a timesheet and turns the work order into the shop clerk to complete in Maximo. Just talking about it takes a lot of time. But as far as doing all of these steps within the mobile unit, most of them are one-click steps. When the technician updates the data in his handheld unit, that's instantly. When he starts the work order, that's instantly. When he gets through with the work, he completes it, does his update on the mobile unit, that's instantly in the database. So, you know, as far as comparing the manual method to what I call the mobile method, it probably decreases it tenfold.
Okay, thanks, Tammy. And this last question I'd like for Brian. Do your products work online and offline, and how does that work?
Yep. So our products are designed for both online and offline functionality. So the only difference in as far as the way the application works, whether it's online or offline, is how quickly we update Maximo, or the ability to push work orders that are newly assigned to a technician from Maximo down to the mobile users. But all the validation and lookups and actions that are performed on the device will occur the same whether you're working online or offline.
Okay. Thank you very much, Brian. That is all the time we have for Q&A session today. Again, we would like to thank everyone for joining the Chugach Federal Solutions Encyclo webinar. And please feel free to reach out to Charles, Tammy, or Brian if you have any further questions about mobile asset management, Chugach Federal Solutions, or Smart Work Manager. Thank you very much, and have a great